Welcome back to Making the Case. We just told you the story about Marvin Guy, the black Texan who is facing capital murder charges after police executed a no-knock warrant that ended in the detective's death. And he's still awaiting official charges. And all that while the Federal Department of Justice announced today that they will ban the use of no-knock warrants and chokeholds except in extreme limited circumstances. So to bring you back up to speed on all of this, we have our legal contributor Paul Henderson joining us to get his thoughts on all of this and more. Thank you so much for being back with us, Paul.
Pleasure to be here.
So first, we were unable to fully speak to Marvin's brother and Cassius, the filmmaker, but we want to get your perspective on this because it was hard for me to understand and believe that this man has been sitting in jail for 7 years, his case not even being brought to trial, and he shouldn't even been there in the first place because they came into his house on something they called a search warrant and did not find anything, and yet he's still sitting in jail 7 years later. How was that even possible?
Well, this is part of the problem with no-knock warrants in general. And before we even start talking about the race-disparate subjective use of no-knock warrants, and again, it's easy for us to talk about it because we can talk about other incidents that have happened in Texas, like Breonna Taylor, where we already know scientifically, statistically, factually, that no-knock warrants are not best practices because of the risks involved, and not just the risk for the intended target of the warrant, but for the risk of law enforcement as well. That's why it is not reflective of best practices and why we're having this conversation today on both sides of the coin. We saw with the case for Breonna Taylor, where wrong victim again, and she was killed, and now in this case, law enforcement was at risk. I mean, this is such a clear indictment against no-knock warrants. Again, the issue is, what is the lesson that we are going to take from it at a local, state, and a federal level to affirm that law enforcement be forced to follow some guidance and regulations about how no-knock warrants are employed, if at all, moving forward into the future, so that we don't keep creating disasters that we know are likely to happen using this tool with law enforcement that, again, is not reflective of our best practices. That's the tragedy. That's why we keep having conversations.
And as we mentioned, you know, the Department of Justice announced today that they are banning these no-knock warrants and chokeholds, but this only applies to the federal law enforcement officer. Obviously, its impact is very limited. So how soon until this will apply to all police officers, if ever?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question and framed it exactly the right way, because that order came out at the federal level. Now, we've had a vacuum at the federal level for quite a long time addressing these issues, especially for race-disparate policing and law enforcement. So the fact that the federal government is coming out now, the issue is, and I think you were alluding to this, is what is the mandate there for other law enforcement levels, not at the federal level? What's happening at the state level for law enforcement agencies and what's happening at the local level for law enforcement agencies. And we don't yet have leadership there. And this country is all across the board in terms of what they're doing to address the vacuum that we've had in the leadership, indicating what those best practices are and what needs to be done. Now, the fact that the federal government has made this order really opens the door for other states to take action independently as well, to make sure that they are addressing their use of force policies, which no-knock warrants are wrapped into, to make sure that they're addressing the disparity, because we already know that more than 2/3 of all law enforcement agencies still don't have use of force policies that have been reformed. And that means, by adoptive admission, that they are still using neck carotid restraints, that they are still using no-knock warrants, that they are still shooting at cars, all of which have been shown to be both race disparate in their subjective use by law enforcement and not reflective of best practices to redefine public safety for our own communities. So it's a really interesting issue, and I like to see that there's some actions that are taking place, that we're moving in the direction of redefining public safety in a way that includes the concerns of disenfranchised communities, and that means, obviously, communities of color as well.
You know, it's still a big problem. Like you said, it's still being used. We're still seeing this, and that's a big part of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. in the same time, why is this provision even being brought to the table, this legislation, if it's pending? It's like teasing people like, oh yeah, we're going to bring it to the table, but we're not really going to do anything. So will it actually lead to actually being something that's put in place, or is just all talk at this point?
I think it can lead to something. I think it's interesting that we're leading with the no-knock warrants because there's such a clear universal agreement that it's not reflective of best practices, as is evidenced by the story that we were just talking about, and in reevaluating ourselves with, or refamiliarizing ourselves with what happened with Breonna Taylor. The issue is this step enough? I don't think that it is, but at least it opens the door to a conversation about reform and accountability, and those are two separate things that I think is really important. And to the degree people can agree on looking at no-knock warrants and agreeing that they have to be extremely limited, if not removed, I think is a beginning of a broader conversation where we have to start looking at these reforms and accountability measures, not in a piecemeal fashion. We don't want to just learn individually from individual steps and limit use of force from security guards because of Trayvon Martin, to eliminate neck restraints because of George Floyd, to restrict no-knock notices because of Breonna Taylor. We have to look at the big picture. We should do all of those things, but we also should do more. We should be looking from an evidence-based approach to both collect and analyze data in order to get us to race-neutral policing so that we don't have what we already know exists now at a local level, at a state level, and at a federal level, that there is race-disparate law enforcement and policing in this country.
Wow. All right. Well, now let's turn to another announcement by the DOJ. They're going to impose limits on the federal monitors who actually oversee consent decrees imposed on local police departments. Can you explain how these federal monitors will work and whether this is actually a good thing or not?
Sure. It's sad that we have more restrictions on these monitors because the role that they play at the federal government, and let's take a step back so I can explain it and unpack it, that the federal government, and it's the Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, that does the pattern and practice evaluation. When they do an evaluation at a specific jurisdiction, they can make a determination that this is a law enforcement that cannot reform itself or that needs more than just accountability and general reform. In fact, what it needs is new mandated leadership, and they institutionalize someone that comes in as an independent monitor for that jurisdiction. And there's over 11 jurisdictions in this country that have that in place right now. This was not happening, this evaluation was not happening in the last administration, and the Civil Rights Division was cut to less than half of what it was from the previous administration, which was the Obama administration, which also gave us a great roadmap for police reform, which was the 21st century policing. The problem is many of these goals and objectives were aspirational rather than institutional. And so counties and states were encouraged to follow these directions, but many did not. And that's part of the problem because on the back end, those directions weren't enforced by the Department of Justice and the Civil Rights Division in the previous administration. And so now that we've had a shift and there's a new administration, the Biden-Harris administration, and we've seen pattern and practice evaluations return to the table, and we're starting to see a conversation about independent auditors again, I think that's a positive thing. But the reality of it is we don't need to rely and sit back in quiet and in silence to wait for the federal government to take these actions. We can take actions now independently at the state level and at a local level by having civilian oversight agencies at the table, by having communities of color at the table as we redefine what public safety needs to look like. And it's just as important for us to tell law enforcement what we don't want them doing as much as we tell them what we do want them doing for public safety. And that's the conversation now. I think the conversation is great. and is going to lead us to a broader definition of public safety for this country.
That's a great point to make, especially for all those people saying defund the police. Well, why don't you get involved and also be part of the solution and be part of this process that they're putting together right now? I think that's very important. We have to move on to the third announcement that came out of the Department of Justice today, that they are launching an investigation into conditions in Georgia prisons. Now, the department currently has an investigation open in Mississippi prisons and just completed one into Alabama's prisons as well. So what do you think that we can expect from this investigation, if anything?
Well, I think that we can expect that someone is going to be looking at the treatment of the folks that are in custody. And I think that that's a really important part of accountability when we're talking about law enforcement. Typically, when we bring up the issue of law enforcement accountability, what we're talking about are local actors of police and/or highway patrol. And we need to be looking at all of the institutions of law enforcement, but that means that we have to look at folks that are in custody as well. So we have to look at the agents that are managing our jails and our prisons. Typically, those deputies need to be evaluated for law enforcement as well and be under the umbrella of both reform and accountability. I think it's an interesting approach to start looking at the reforms for the folks that are in custody, because typically when we have the conversations, we talk about folks in local communities, but those folks that are incarcerated bring some unique interpretations to what reform and accountability look like, primarily because we're talking about a population with limited constitutional protections. You don't have the same constitutional protections that you or I would have while you're in a custodial situation. But that still doesn't mean that they can be treated any kind of way. And we need to look at law enforcement reforms in those institutions, just as importantly as we need to look at the law enforcement reforms for folks on the street with regular civilians. And so I think it's a great approach. I'm curious to see where they're going to begin. I would presume that they would start with in-custody deaths, that they would start with civil rights violations, and that would include all of the things that folks are concerned about in various communities and want to be addressed.
And you might as well add medical treatment for those prisoners to the list as well. So important. Exactly. All right, well, before I let you go, we have to talk about the other big news of the day is that some of the other officers and the killing of George Floyd were arraigned in court today. Now, lawyers for the three other officers that's outside of Derek Chauvin. Now, they made a motion that they should be tried separately away from Derek Chauvin because they don't want the outside influence based on what has already happened to Derek Chauvin to affect their clients. How do you think that the judge will rule in this case?
I think he's going to deny that rule. I mean, this isn't the first time that they've raised this issue. And what these folks want to do is separate themselves as much as possible from Chauvin. And I think we can expect that from their legal teams. It's that every argument they make, every appearance that they make, every statement that they give is going to try and distance themselves from what Derek Chauvin did, especially now that he's been convicted and it's clear overwhelmingly what the evidence was. And to me, it seems interesting for Derek Chauvin that we watched a whole tape of him murdering George Floyd while we had a trial about the murder of George Floyd. And that same tape is going to be introduced for these defendants as well to determine what active role they may have played in that death as well, and what their obligation was to have intervened. And that, to me, is the interesting legal twist in terms of what's going to happen in the case involving these three other former law enforcement officers, what role they should have taken while they observed or participated actively in what was happening to George Floyd and his murder.
And in the meantime, they're all pleading not guilty and a trial date has not yet been set. Should we be concerned that a trial date has not been set? Are they going to try to just delay this, or can we expect a pretty quick trial date on this?
I don't think so, because they'll get credit for time served if they are convicted, and that entering into a non-guilty plea is only a legal technicality. It doesn't mean that they aren't guilty. It just means that it forces prosecution to go through the steps to prove their guilt to a jury.
All right, Paul Henderson, as always, thank you so much for clearing all those legal items up for us on the list. We'll see you again here soon. All right, we have more Making the Case after this.